So when a lot of people think of the 2013 NBA draft class, they think of basically just a bust. You have Anthony Bennett as a number one overall pick, being the worst number one overall pick of this generation. And beyond that, there aren't a lot of all-stars. There's actually only one all-star. There are no true superstars outside of that one guy that's an all-star. And a lot of people just sort of write this draft off. And at the beginning, that's definitely the case because a lot of guys took a while to develop. But this draft class, and a lot of people don't realize this, has slowly but surely been developing into one of the deepest in recent years. And people might not realize this because while there isn't a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan, it's not like the 2003 draft class, the 1996 draft class, and the 1984 draft class. It's actually better than what people realize it is. And when I did my research, I found 3 players who I deemed to be stars and 16 other guys that I deemed to be major contributors and solid players on either good teams or above average players on teams that aren't so good. So I'm going to link all the footage I use in the description because I'll be using clips for this video. And first I'm going to start with the 3 superstars, or the people I deemed to be superstars from this draft, and then I'll talk about the role players as well. So let's get into it. Giannis is by far the best player in this draft. He was taken 15th overall by the Milwaukee Bucks. He wasn't seen as a top prospect, so the Bucks got him at 15 as a developmental player, and he has gotten better every single season. This season was his breakout year by far. He won Most Improved Player, and he made the All-Star team, and he was the first player from this draft to make the All-Star team. He is 6'11", ridiculously long. He can play 4 different positions. He can facilitate, he can rebound, he can score. The moment he learns how to shoot is the moment that he'll become the best player in the NBA. Now, whether or not he'll be able to, due to his length, making it very difficult for him, is still a question, but he is by far the number 1 player from this draft. He's the clear-cut number 1, and the only true superstar so far to come out of this draft. CJ McCollum had a similar route to Steph Curry to the NBA in that he took a small school that was not very well known to the NCAA tournament and took them decently far in it and earned a national name for himself and was taken 10th overall as a project by the Trailblazers. He played behind Wes Matthews for 2 years before earning the starting role after Matthews left, and his points per game jumped from 6 to 20, and he earned Most Improved Player in 2015-2016, and he has provided a great number 2 punch with Damian Lillard, who is the starting point guard there and the star of the team. McCollum's defense is a little bit lacking, but overall he was a solid pick in this draft. He provides a lot of offense, he's an efficient scorer, and he definitely takes a lot of the attention off Damian Lillard, allowing Lillard to become a better player as well.
Rudy Gobert is the player that has definitely slipped most under the radar in this draft. After being taken 27th overall and playing as Enes Kanter's backup in Utah for a year and a half, he has gotten better and better after taking over the starting role. He earned a second-team All-NBA selection this season, and just looking on paper at his 14 points per game and 12.8 rebounds per game, it doesn't seem like that would be worthy of the second-team All-NBA, but if you look deeper at some of his efficiency ratings, you'll see just how efficient this guy really is. So I'm going to read you a couple numbers, and you'll get a glimpse into how good Rudy Gobert really is. He was first in blocks per game and block percentage, first in true shooting percentage, and second in effective shooting percentage, 4th in rebounds per game, and 5th in total rebound percentage, 3rd in both offensive and defensive rating, 1st in defensive win shares, and 2nd in total win shares, and 4th in win shares per 48 minutes. He is the model of efficiency. He helps the team in every aspect, and he is one of the best superstars in the league that no one knows about.
So now that we've talked about the stars of this draft, I'm going to go over the 16 other guys that I deem to be solid contributors, and a lot of them have been contributors on playoff teams, and then we're going to do a quick wrap-up. So we're going to start with Victor Oladipo, who was taken 2nd overall and helped the Oklahoma City Thunder this past season as their second option go to the playoffs. Otto Porter, who was picked 3rd overall by the Washington Wizards, has developed into a very solid player and is currently about to earn a max contract. We have Cody Zeller, who was picked 4th overall, who has been an important contributor to the Charlotte Hornets on their last few playoff runs. Nerlens Noel, who has now been traded to the Dallas Mavericks. He was a solid center for the 76ers, and now it looks like he's going to be re-signed by the Mavericks. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a shooting guard for the Pistons, on a playoff run. Steven Adams, who was taken by a team that was already a playoff team in the Oklahoma City Thunder at number 12 overall and has earned the starting center role and has gotten better every single season. Taken 13th overall was Kelly Olynyk, who was traded to the Boston Celtics and has put up solid numbers on a couple playoff teams, as well as dropped 26 points last season on the Washington Wizards in order to win that series. Shabazz Muhammad, who was taken 14th overall and was traded to the Timberwolves, where he's put up solid numbers off the bench. Dennis Schroeder, who was taken 17th overall by the Atlanta Hawks. He has also put up strong numbers and eventually won the starting role there on a playoff team. Tony Snell, who was a shooting guard for the Bulls and then the Bucks, both of whom went to the playoffs while he was on the team. Gorgie Deng, who was a center now for the Timberwolves, who has put up pretty decent numbers. Mason Plumlee, who has been a solid center in the league for a few years. Tim Hardaway Jr., who was taken and originally was seen as a bust, but last season on the Hawks proved himself and became a pretty solid player on a playoff team. Andre Robertson, who has become a shooting guard on a playoff team in the Oklahoma City Thunder. Alan Crabb, who is a good three-point shooter for the Blazers, who are a playoff team. And Mike Muscala, who's become a solid backup big man for the Atlanta Hawks, who are also a playoff team. So a lot of these guys in this draft have actually been major contributors on playoff teams. So while this draft isn't anything like the draft that produced LeBron, Wade, Bosh, and Carmelo, or the draft that produced Hakeem Olajuwon and Michael Jordan, this draft has actually produced a lot of guys that have helped teams reach the playoffs or helped teams achieve things, as well as those three stars I mentioned. So while this draft obviously was not major or huge or produced anything outside of Giannis that would be considered superstar level, this draft actually wasn't all that bad, and people give this draft a lot of crap that it probably shouldn't deserve. I think this draft went really under the radar, and I think a lot of these guys were developmental guys who have now developed and become solid players. So whether or not this draft was good, I'm not going to make a statement on that, but I will say I think it is very underrated.